Hello. I'm standing at the Zoo Opera Pavilion amid all the excitement and the pandemonium of opening night preparations. In just a few minutes, the curtains will go up on Cincinnati Summer Opera's 50th season. This year's opening night performance will be Tosca. Later on, we'll talk to some of the people who have worked all year long to make this evening and this season possible. But right now, we'll just stand back to watch and listen.
5 to 8, I get the okay. And then 10 after 8.
We begin Act 2 no matter what. Okay, tell Roy that. We're going to stop the lights at 5 minutes of 8. Very good. Give the break until 10 after.
Good, fine.
Have you met our new stage manager?
Yeah, we're all friends.
Okay, and then we go 10 after no matter whether Roy's done it or not. We have to do the opening with the cantata business. Then we can stop.
Tosca has a fresh, exciting new look. The man responsible is J. Ralph Corbett, president of the Corbett Foundation. Mr. Corbett, the opening opera, Tosca, has been underwritten by the Corbett Foundation. Now, just what is your involvement with Tosca?
Well, the foundation pays for the costumes, the sets, and the fees of the main singers.
I understand that Arlene Saunders is in Tosca for a very special reason.
Yes. There are 2 or 3 reasons. First, Tosca is considered a highly dramatic opera, and it requires not only a great singer, but a consummate actress. And Arlene Saunders is both. She started her career at the New York City Opera Company, and Mr. Ralph Lieberman, who is one of the great, if not the greatest opera director in all Europe, heard her at New York City Opera and promptly engaged her for the Hamburg Opera Company. Now she is, and has been for several years, the prima donna singer at the Hamburg Opera Company. Traviata happens to be one of the great roles which she created in Hamburg. And so when we thought of doing Tosca, there was no question in our mind that Arlene Saunders had to be the Tosca. And so that's why we selected her, and we're very thrilled with the selection. Yes.
Mr. Corbett, I think you're well known throughout our greater Cincinnati area, as well as nationally known as being a contributor and a philanthropist, you as well as the Corbett Foundation. I'm using both in a synonymous way here, to our cultural heritage here. You've done so much for us, the Cincinnati Symphony Orchestra, the opera, and of course Music Hall. And I think everyone's wondering when the Cincinnati Summer Opera will be able to use Music Hall.
I'm glad to tell you, Rosemary, we have at last, after a 2.5-year struggle, have obtained the funds needed for a completely new stage and for a completely new lighting system which will be the equal of any in the country. But unfortunately, because the symphony season lasts until the end of May of each year, we can't get into the hall to do the stage and lighting system until the summer of 1971, which means that the opera can perform in the very early spring of '72. And from that time on, they can do the most glorious operas with facilities equal to the best in the country.
In early June, scenic designer Henry Heyman arrived in Cincinnati to begin the job of refurbishing the Tosca scenery, which had been designed originally by Wolfgang Roth. It's a thrilling experience for me to be standing here on stage at the Zoo Pavilion. Particularly thrilling to be talking with Mr. Styrk Orwoll, who is the general manager of the Cincinnati Summer Opera. Hello, Styrk.
Hi, Rosemary. It's so nice to be back here on the stage with you again this year. This is our 50th anniversary, and right here on this spot, can you imagine how many great artists have performed here over the past 50 years?
I'm afraid the numbers would boggle the mind.
It's fantastic.
Indeed it has. I think all the greatest performers have, and you're generally responsible for that, aren't you, Styrk?
Well, for a number of years here now, I have been responsible for that.
Well, what are the duties of a general manager of our opera? That would boggle the mind.
They're multitudinous, shall we say that. Actually, I'm responsible for the whole package. I have to plan a complete season, which always is a great puzzle to put together, depending upon the availability of all of the internationally famed artists that we try to bring here. And then I have to establish a budget within which we can operate and negotiate contracts with all of these artists and negotiate for the stage directors and all of the backstage and ticket sellers and even down to the janitors who clean the auditorium.
Look, we open, we start 10 after.
Hi, Jim. Nice to see
How are
you.
you? Nice to see you.
Fine, once again. And you're also directing several of the operas, aren't you?
Yes, I do Tosca first, and then finally the new Butterfly. So I have 2 new shows this year. That's great, Tosca and Butterfly.
I see, and I bet it is exciting for you.
Very much.
Do you
Very
do
much.
much traveling in your...
Yes, but about once a month I'm allowed to go away and do something. You see, I have a full-time drama department, too, so I
And
have
where
to
is
split my
that?
time. That's in Syracuse, New York.
I see. Well, then we're most fortunate to be able to have you here as production manager for our Cincinnati season.
Thank you. My pleasure.
An important reason the Cincinnati Summer Opera has been in existence for 50 years is the work done by the Opera Women's Committee. Year after year, they accept the burden of getting season tickets sold and keeping an atmosphere of excitement and importance alive all year round. The opera this year. The effects of this innovation may be felt for years to come. The man behind it all is Gibson Carey.
Well, in its simplest form, the idea is to have some sort of family night activity for the children in connection with the opera. Our goal is to interest children in the opera, and we think there are 2 steps that have to be taken to accomplish this. First, we have to make it possible for the children to come. Now, unfortunately, opera is not the most inexpensive form of entertainment. And so as step number 1, we've made arrangements to have children admitted to the opera on Friday and Sunday nights at half price.
And did you think of this idea yourself?
This was my own idea originally. I was very eager to get my children to the opera more often, and this makes it possible, quite frankly.
Well, how was this idea approved?
Well, we went to the board of the Summer Opera with this idea, and they were very quick to respond to it. The opera is, of course, very eager to attract new patrons, and paying attention to the children and getting them interested in the opera is one key way to do it. Now, this is only half of the plan. The second half involves a special presentation on opera to be given each Sunday night, just a half an hour prior to the first curtain. Now, on our Sunday nights, we will have a presentation in the Dome building, which is immediately adjacent to the pavilion, starting at 7 o'clock, just prior to the 7:30 curtain. And the purpose of this is to acquaint the children with the plot of the opera, in the thinking that the children will not really enjoy the evening unless they understand what they are seeing.
Ruth de Blasis, wife of director Jim de Blasis, will be commentator for the family night presentations.
I have, I should say, the fun of presenting this little synopsis of the opera, this understandable plot to the children. I say children only by years, but adults are welcome, and we're going to see if we have children of 9, of 10, maybe we'll even have freshmen and sophomore in high school. We'll plan the synopsis on our audience, but along with the presentation of this simplified form, we are having a chorus member at each one of these presentations to sing in costume and makeup, and also introduce the leading stars to this audience in this pavilion.
Oh, it sounds most exciting, and certainly a big job that you've cut out for yourself. On Wednesday, July 8th, all the work and rehearsing had been completed, our summer opera's 50th opening night. The audience began to gather early to enjoy the pleasant zoo atmosphere. Arlene Saunders, the prima donna of the Hamburg Opera Company and the star of Tosca. Arlene, welcome back to Cincinnati.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Arlene, do you find the role that you play in Tosca to be the most demanding in your repertoire?
Well, one of the most, because of its intensity. I think one can get terribly carried away, but we'll try not to do that.
Well, I'm sure not. Do you have any favorite particular opera role that you enjoy doing?
Well, I'm always asked that, and I hate to always answer the same thing because I think everybody answers this, but it's the truth that each one that I'm in at the time is my favorite.
Do you become emotionally involved with the character that you portray?
Oh, yes, very much so.
And do you find that it requires not only a tremendous great singing voice, but also a lot of acting ability?
Well, we try, yes. I mean, the old style of opera, I think, is vorbei, as they say in German. It's gone. And we're so spoiled with television and films now that we expect to see what we hear, and we expect to see the person that's in the story.
I was wondering, from a woman's point of view, do you feel that the status of the opera singer per se has changed during the past years? And so far, I'm trying to say, like, you're much thinner, you're very pretty, and I think has changed from the Brunhilde type of person, you know, the rather rotund.
Oh, yes.
person.
Well, I think it's come along with the knowledge that one does not have to be fat to be healthy. As a matter of fact, it's just the opposite.
It has been said by many that the Hamburg Opera Company is just the finest in all of Europe. Now,
that's what I like to hear.
Well, as a prima donna, I would imagine, but why would you say that it enjoys its reputation?
Well, I think it's because it's a forward-looking company. They're not afraid to make experiments. Instead of the old hats, they bring in brand new things, encouraging new composers and young singers. And many opera companies wait until a singer is established and perhaps sung out before they have the nerve to hire them because of their box office. And we don't do that in Hamburg. But of course, we can afford to do that because we have state subsidy there, which we do not have in the United States yet. And it's a very helpful thing, you know, for experimenting.
How long have you been prima donna at the Hamburg Opera Company?
About 6.5, 7 years now.
And you are a native Ohioan.
Yes, Cleveland, Ohio. Went to Baldwin Wallace College.
Thank you, Arlene Saunders. The three-act opera Tosca proved to be a wonderful opening for the 1970 season. It was last performed here in 1967 and was welcomed back enthusiastically. We have had the opportunity to take a look at the work that is done to bring opera to us each year. We have had the pleasure of talking with the people who make it all possible. It's gratifying to know that there are a lot of people who have made the Cincinnati Summer Opera an important part of their lives, and it's all there for us to enjoy.